Good morning, guys. I'm Blackie and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to have a video of a little improvement to a Pathfinder emergency reusable space blanket. Now, those of you that follow the channel realize that like a couple of months ago, month and a half, 2 months ago, I did a modification of this where I went and I added a center tie out to it. And these are really good reusable space blankets. And a lot of people like to utilize them as their primary shelter. And I understand that, and they work well. But we can improve it. And I had noticed something when I've watched Dave Canterbury and the Pathfinder bunch, their videos, that they would have an X on there. I got to thinking about that, and that was because it's reinforcing it. Then the light bulb went off. Hey, so I want to play off of that a little bit. What I want to do is I want to add some utility and add some reinforcement to this. And then, after that, we're going to talk about another playoff. I'm going to show you how to do something with paracord. So stay with me. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lay it out, and I'm going to start processing it. For this, you're going to need your emergency reusable space blanket, some number 36 bankline, some really good duct tape, and some way to stake it out. Now this can be done where you stake it out in the yard with a tent stake on either end, or like I'm going to do, take it out here on a bench, lay it out, and just anchor the two ends. But it'll become self-explanatory. So let me lay it out. Now on the silver side, I've got a piece of duct tape right there that's got a loop on it. That loop was there so that whenever I'm using this for a heat reflector, because I carry this in my vehicle down here in the south where it can be so hot that if a vehicle breaks down and I need to make a shelter to get out of the sun, being able to turn the reflective side out would be the advantage. So I set it up that way. But I'm going to do this on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 36 bank line. Okay, I'm going to find the center of my tarp. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to take it I'm going to take the opposite corners, I'm going to line them up, just like this. Yes, this is going to be fiddly. I know that. And then, whatever I do, that tells me that right there is the middle, right here. So I'm going to take a pen, I'm going to put me a mark there so I can locate that. Now I'm going to lay it out flat. On a diagonal. I've got one corner right there, one corner right there, and right there is my center mark. Okay? I'm going to take my 36 bank line, I'm going to run it through the grommet on this end. Tied a knot on myself. No knots. There we go. I have tied a loop in the middle of it. I'll put that loop right there, and I'm going to make sure I got enough to go past and have some left. And I do. Okay. I'm going to take my first piece of duct tape. Oh, about 6 inches. I'm going to take that duct tape and I'm going to split it halfway down. Just like that. And then I'm going to put it on either side with that loop coming up in the middle of it, so the loop is supported sideways. You'll see. Come right here, line up my loop, put my duct tape down, pull the loop up, and then take the wing of duct tape and go around it. So now that is well stuck right in the middle. Now let's come down to this end. Okay. I'm going to now make sure my tarp is flat. I'm going to come out this hole, and then right here about where it's going to be, I'm going to take the line, kink it over, come back through, make myself a loop. I'm going to go through, come back over the outside and go back through that loop I just made. Okay, so there's the loop. I'm going to feed it back through, and then I'm going to pull that loop down tight. Now I'm going to tie a good sized knot in the end of this as a stop knot so it don't go back through there. 2 knots should be sufficient to do that, one behind the other. I'm going to pull that down. Now as you see, this leaves me a tent stake loop right there, and it's against the end of the grommet. Okay, now I'm going to stretch out and make sure this is nice and flat. To keep it flat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this end and I'm going to put a staple there. I can put a tent stake or whatever, but I'm going to put a staple to hold that. I can pull it out in a minute. Now let's go to the other end and do the same thing. Okay, now I'm going to pull my line nice and taut, so it's nice and taut kind of all the way around, and I'm going to measure off a piece of this, do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to come right here where it would be. I'm going to get a good mental idea, and I'm going to give myself plenty of slack. I'm going to cut off my bank line using my Field Master EDC. Now, pulling that nice, I get a marker where it should be. I come back, I make a loop right there like we thought we did before. I scoot it down where it's just a grunt short. Now I go out the grommet, back over the top, through that loop I just made, and pull it down. Pulling this line now tight with that edge. Alright, now that's nice and snug. Now I'm going to put my stop knot in. Right here. So that don't come loose. 2 knots should be sufficient. Now pull that snug. Now I'm going to cut off that excess right there. Alright, so now I got a nice loop. Now I'm going to pull it snug as well, and I'm going to staple it. Now we have the 36 bank line running the full length of the tarp, a tie-out loop in the middle of it. Now we're going to cover this with duct tape to reinforce the tarp. Keeping the cord in the middle of the duct tape. Or thereabouts. And this is T-Rex brand duct tape. I'm going to come all the way up here to the top grommet. And I'm going to mash that down good and tight. This acts as a reinforcement. So when you pulled as a tarp under tension. Problem is the grommets let go. They've got reinforced corners on these Pathfinders, but still, they're one of the best around, but still, it's still just a plastic tarp. And you get a heavy rain or heavy wind buffeting it, it'll eventually walk and walk and walk until it comes out. Well, this way it's actually a piece of bankline that's holding the actual load going from stake to stake or grommet to grommet, pulling, and the tarp is just kind of stuck to it. So I've taken the load off of this material and put it on that 36 bankline. Now let me do the other end right quick. Okay, now I've got the full length taped this way. Now I'm going to turn and do it diagonally the other way to form the X. Then we'll set it up. Okay, now that we've put the big X on our top and reinforced it, let's talk about the second innovation in this. Now, this is my quick deploy ridge line. I've shown this in many videos, and there are tons of quick deploy ridge lines all over the internet. About every major channel has their little twist on it, and which is great. It's a great piece of gear to have. But remember when I was talking about cords and I talked about a long line? How about whenever in my gear, my quick deploy ridge line rides with a tarp? I don't carry it anymore just in my haversack. I carry a long length of cord with one toggle on it and a loop in the end of it called the long line. But what if I don't have either? What if I forgot about this? Left it set up, folded up my tarp, got busy talking and left and lost my ridge line. I want to make an improvised ridge line right quick without having to do all this. And I had showed how to do it with a toggle on the end. Well, recently Matt Mercer and Dave Canterbury released a video where they took a very similar idea, which they had come up with, which was how to take just a basic piece of cord and with no knots and just a couple of toggles, set up a improvised ridge line. And that was a real cool idea. And so I'm now going to show what they did and show you a little twist that I want to put on it. But now that I've reinforced this tarp, let me show how it's set up. So for this, we're going to have 550 paracord that has no tackle on it whatsoever. It's just a hank of line, okay? And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the far end and we're going to attach it to a tree. But there's a trick that we're going to attach to a tree that's going to set us up to make it easy to attach our tarp. Let me show you that. Okay, we're going to come up to the line and we're going to take a good length of our cord, drop that right there, and what we're going to do is we're going to come around from the far side of it, and on this line, which it doesn't matter, give yourself plenty of slack here because this is going to become the attachment point for the tarp. So give yourself plenty of extra. I'm going to give myself like 2 or 3 feet right there. I'm going to get up here about where I want to be, right there. On the far line, I'm going to take it and twist it to form a loop, just like that. Then I'm going to take this line, I'm going to double it in half and push that through that loop, cinch it down, pull that loop out, and then I'm going to come up the other line and make a second loop, twist it, just like that. I'm going to feed that loop through it a second time and pull. That makes a sheep shank. And the sheep shank is going to hold it, but this loop right here is where the toggle is going to hold it into my tarp. To get it out, all you got to do is just pull this out and it falls off the tree. Super easy. So let me show you that again. You come up to the level you want with plenty of slack. You're going to twist up a loop, double this cord up, go through it. Give yourself a pretty good loop. Pull the first cord a little snug, twist it, make a second loop, go through that one, and then pull the cord tight. That leaves a loop hanging here and your long tag end. Now, pull that and let that secure. Now let's go to the other end and set up. Okay, now I've got my sheep shank in this side. I'm going to come out about, that far out. And I'm going to take me a toggle off the ground. I'm going to make me a loop, stick it through, come down, twist the cord again, stick it over it again, pull it up, and leave that hanging in the line. You'll see why in just a minute. Okay, I pull my line out for rough measurement. Here's that extra toggle I put in. And I'm going to take my tarp with the orange side out. I'm going to take a toggle, go through that loop we just put in, and I'm going to hang it in that loop on that heat sink I showed you. Just like that. That allows me now to take this and kind of walk along, figure out about where my end is going to be, right here, okay? And so I want this to come around and have a toggle right here that I can hook to. So I'm going to come right here about this place, and I'm going to put in a marline spike hitch. Let me show you that. Okay, here's where I'm going to need this anchor point. So I'm going to take it, twist over, and I'm going to pull a line through. Okay, just like that. Again, all I'm doing is twisting it over, and I'm going to reach through that loop and pull the line through. Okay, now I'm going to take a toggle out of my pocket, wooden toggle, and stick through there and pull that, and that will walk down and lock onto it, forming a marline spike hitch. Okay, now I go to the other tree about the right height. I go around and I come back with the rest of my cord. On mine, I had it hooked in here like a cleat you went around, but that does wear the cords against each other. What Dave and Matt came up with was using a marline spike hitch instead, because you can take the cord and go around it, and now it's bearing against the stick, not against the cord. I put my fingers up there and I pull the cord and use my hand to pull, and I can pull this puppy blood tight real quick, just pulling back. My hand keeps the stick from rolling, and I can pull it blood tight. Now once I do get it there, I just do it as a figure 8, just like it, making sure you don't get your finger. There we go. Up and over, under, up and over, under. And that's going to hold. Now we're going to come up here in front of it, and we're going to put a half hitch, just like that. Now this half hitch is what's going to anchor to our other end, our other grommet of our tarp. Here we go. Okay, now that we have wrapped it around and we got it anchored, we have just simply half hitched over the top of it, and it is locked. Now that leaves us a loop right here, a length of cord, right? What we're going to do now is we're going to take the loop that we just put onto our tarp. We're going to double that up and cut that cord up and come up through it and put a toggle in, just like that. And then we're going to pull on that toggle and let it lock into this loop, just like that. Now we can pull it nice and tight, and all we got to do is put a half hitch on it when we get done. So pull it to there, put a half hitch on it, cinch it up snug, and ta-da, it's hooked up. The only knots we used was half hitches. Okay, now on the end of my tarp, I've got that loop I just created. I left the loop so that if I'm going to be flying this up over my head like a rain tarp or over a hammock, I can take my tent stake that already has line and a loop on it, and I can simply go through that and hook back to this tent stake and have a long line to pull out to be able to fly it up. If I don't need this and all I've got is an improvised stake with nothing on it, what I can do is pass it through that loop and then just spin it a couple times. So all you got to do, and see it's twisted down on it. Now when I stake it out, it ain't going to come off, even if the wind goes to flood. If that hook wasn't there, and this was just a stick off the ground, all I got to do is put it in and twist it around, and that locks it. So now when I stake it out, it'll be nice and taut, and I don't have to worry about it coming loose. Okay, now you can see how the X is the reinforcement to it. The tape keeps the plastic from being pulled too tight. And before, where it was just the 4 grommets and then the plastic tarp taking the load, now it's the number 36 bank line is actually the one that's hooked to the 4 points, is the 36 bank line, and the tarp is just hooked to it. So my load bearing is the number 36. The improvised ridge line now has no knots on it. On this end, it's a sheep shank. The loop of the shank was pulled out and a toggle was put in it to hold one corner of the tarp. On the other end over here, we simply put a marline spike hitch, put a stick up, ran the cord around it, and using the as a hand toggle with a line around it, lean your body weight and pull, and you get a lot of tension to pull that line good and tight. And then you simply just wrap it high, low, figure 8 around it, and then half hitch it off. With that free end, we then come up, run through the far grommet of the tarp, put a toggle in there to hold it, come back up onto the line and do a quick half hitch. That's it. There are no knots, only hitches in this. Oh, and remember I put that extra toggle in the line up there? What was that for, Blackie? Glad you asked. Okay, you saw me put this extra toggle in where it's just simply a line, a half hitch, and continue on, so it's hanging there. What's that for? To hang your haversack. You just run over one end, hook up, go over the other end, just like that. And your haversack is hanging on your ridge line for easy access right there. And since this one's made out of waxed canvas, I don't have to worry about it getting wet hanging there. I could take it on and off real easy. But by going ahead and putting this here, I get my gear up off the ground, and I got a quick and convenient place that I can walk up, grab a hold of it, and roll off that toggle. Almost made that toggle too big. There we go. And so I can take my haversack off. Hook under one side and hook over the other. That's all you got to do. And there is your haversack. So in conclusion, I want to say thank you to Dave Canterbury and Matt Mercer at the Pathfinder group for posting that video about doing the no knot improvised ridge line where it's just toggles and hitches. Really innovative, really like that. And it sparked an idea in me, having seen them put tape on it, about running the bank line. That's what I love about this community. We can interact with each other. You post a video and I see it and I go, hey, wait a minute, and I throw my 2 cents. You watch my video and you go, hey, and you throw your 2 cents. That's the way we grow the community. That's where we share the knowledge. And I am very, very grateful for all the support y'all show to my channel. I really am. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.